Hello everyone. I am Sahil Bansal from Taxonation. We will start this amnesty scheme webinar shortly. Thank you. Hello everyone. I am Sahil Bansal from Taxonation. Sorry for being delayed. We are going to start this webinar. First of all, thank you so much for attending this webinar on Sunday. You make the time for this webinar as CA Mohit Gupta sir is with us for this webinar. And he's a prominent speaker of GST, the practitioner CA who is having practice of GST and income and VAT as well from last 10 years. He's practicing in Gurgaon as well as Pan India. So before this, let me hand over to this Mohit sir to start this webinar. Hello Mohit sir, please could you, is it, yes.
Thank you so much, Sahil. And I would also like to thank Taxonation for giving me this opportunity to present my views on this particular topic. I think this is one of those topics which is very hot right now and across the industry as well as the professionals because we are today on 23rd March and 31st March is the last date of payment. So we only have 7 8 days left for this scheme, at least to make the payment part. And I've seen a lot of professionals and as well as the industry people who are facing a lot of issues in uh, various small aspects of this scheme. So that is why I thought that this would be a good time to have a session and basically all the issues which are there in the scheme, all the nitty-gritties which are there in the scheme that we can address. So I'll just share my screen.
Is it possible you to share the screen or should I give you the,
I think you have to make me co-host, I think.
probably you are not able to start. Let me host you and please, I request everyone, please be on mute and keep your video off. I request that. If you have anyone have any question, do message Mohit sir on chat. So Mohit sir, let me make you. Yes, sir. Now you can share your screen, please.
I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, it is visible, please.
So we'll start our session. So first off, we will cover the scheme. What are the nitty-gritties? What are the open issues? And any doubts, any queries which participants have. So any general doubts or issues they can that we will cover after we have concluded the session. If they have any specific issue related to the point which we are discussing, that maybe we can solve it there and then. But for all the other doubts, I would request everyone to please wait till end of the session and we'll have a complete 10 15 minutes to discuss all the queries of the participants. So broadly, what we are going to be covering in today's session is a general idea about the scheme, what kind of cases are covered in this particular scheme, what are the conditions, uh, procedures, timelines, what are the forms, nitty-gritties of that SPL 01, SPL 02, what are the issues which taxpayers generally faces when they file these forms. Then we have one circular also, circular number 238, which provides various clarifications. So what are the issues which has been clarified by Circular 238? And then what are still after those clarifications, still there are a lot of issues which need clarification from the government. So, or how do we best deal with those issues if in absence of any clarity from the government side? So broadly, these are the topics which we will be covering today. So with this, let us start. So, no, I think everyone is very well aware about the scheme, but still, I would take 1 or 2 minutes to reflect on why this scheme was introduced. So, all of you know, if we go back seven, so today we are in 2025. So let's go back 8 years. Let's go back to July 2017 when GST law was a very new law. किसी को कोई knowledge नहीं थी कि GST में क्या law है. Department was also confused, industry was also confused, and the consultants, they were also learning the basics of GST law. So किसी को भी इतनी clarity नहीं थी कि कैसे क्या provisions हैं, कैसे GST को follow करना है. 3B returns filing भी बहुत delay हुई है. GSTR 1, GSTR 3 भी was not there. GSTR 1 to 3 was there. Then GSTR 2 was kept in abeyance. For GSTR 3, substitute return GSTR 3B was introduced. So all of that was going on in financial year 17, 18, 18, 19. So industry had a lot of issues in few initial years of GST. And due to that, a lot of genuine short payments, delayed payments, they were also there. So at that time, the government assured us that they will not treat those mistakes very harshly. But practically, what happened is these cases for financial year 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, these cases got picked by GST department in 2023, in 2024. So by that time, everyone had a very good idea about GST law, the taxpayer, the department, and the industry. So by that time, now when the department started picking up those cases, so then they started finding issues कि अच्छा इसमें आपने short payment की है, इसमें तो law ऐसे बोलते हैं. The 3B2A mismatch है, which was so in 17-18 GSTR 2A was not even present on the portal, but still department is issuing notices for 17-18 on the ground that there is a mismatch in 3B2A. So all those issues were there, and so apart from the basic tax demand, department also levies interest and penalty. So if you talk about financial year 17-18, so for 17-18, if you are receiving a notice today or you received a notice in 2024, so at the rate of 18% per annum, your interest cost will come to 126% for 7 years. So the interest amount is exceeding the tax amount. So that caused a lot of hardship to various taxpayers who were willing to pay the tax amount because that was a genuine mistake. But the interest cost and the penalty cost were way too high for them to bear. So that was a very popular industry demand to have a amnesty scheme at least for the initial few years of GST to close off all the cases for these initial years so that going forward the industry can properly follow the GST law. So because of that, the government came up with this amnesty scheme. So that was decided in 53rd GST Council meeting, which was held on 26th June. So during this meeting, the proposal was put forward for 4 financial year from 17-18 to 2021. But for 2021, as on 26th June 2024, the due date for show cause notice as well as order was not due. So the due date for show cause for 2021 was 30th November. So for that reason, GST Council decided that first of all, let us introduce only for 3 years, 17, 18, 18, 19, and 19, 20. 2021, we will see after the due dates have passed that how much notices have been issued, what are the quantum, what are the legal issues on which such notices have been issued. So after that, maybe we will extend this amnesty to financial year 2021 only. But as of now, we don't have any intimation or any information from the government about extension of the amnesty scheme to financial year 2021. So right now it is only limited to financial year 1920. So then, just as we all know, Section 120A was introduced to put forward to put into effect the amnesty scheme. Then notification number 17 of the 2024 was issued. Notification number 2021 was also issued. So what exactly is the relief which has been provided by this amnesty scheme, and what are the cases which is covered? So broadly, they have given three different sub clauses. So first clause is where any notice or statement has been issued under section 73. So in simple words, कोई भी आपका notice issue हुआ है और subsequent period की statement issue हुई है under section 73. So that means any notice or order which is issued under section 74, जहाँ पे भी fraud का allegation है, that is not covered. Then second, orders which are passed in 73. So first is जहाँ पे notice issue हो गया but order issue नहीं हुआ. Second category is जहाँ पे order issue हो गया but उसके अगेंस्ट ऑर्डर इन अपील इशू नहीं हुआ है. एंड देन लास्ट कैटेगरी इज वेयर ऑर्डर इन अपील हैज बीन इशूड बाय द फर्स्ट अपेलेट अथॉरिटी बट second order has not been issued by appellate tribunal. So basically, all the cases are covered up to tribunal level, that where no order has been passed by tribunal. Up to that stage, all the notices and orders have been covered. And tribunal has not yet constituted. So आज की डेट में there is no order against which tribunal has passed any order. So effectively, all the notices, all the orders which are there, the taxpayer can apply for those orders in the amnesty scheme for financial year 17, 18, 18, 19 and 19, 20. Two important exclusions. Section 74 we have discussed. Section 74 में notice आया हुआ है wherein there is an allegation for fraud, willful suppression, willful misstatement. So that will not be covered in the scheme. Second is where there is a notice or order for erroneous refund. जहाँ पे किसी taxpayer ने refund apply कर दिया, उसको refund मिल गया, then department issued a notice to him for erroneous recovery of erroneous refund. So that will not be covered in this amnesty scheme, because basically in this case the government has to recover that amount from the taxpayer with interest, because government is of the view कि आपने गवर्नमेंट एक्सचेकर को डिफ्रॉड किया है, आपने गलत पैसे लिए हैं, तो वी आल्सो वांट इंटरेस्ट एंड पेनल्टी ऑन दैट अमाउंट. So that is why that is not covered in amnesty scheme. So what are the benefits which is there if you go for the amnesty scheme? So first is the biggest benefit, the interest amount and penalty amount, whatever is there in the notice, वो waive off हो जाएगा. So the taxpayer only needs to pay the tax amount. The rest, complete interest amount and penalty amount will be waived off. Second, section 16 subsection 5 and section 16 subsection 6. So I'll give a very brief background. What happened especially in financial year 2021, 19, 20, 2021, when COVID hit, बहुत सारे taxpayers को cash flow की problem थी, because of COVID, all the supply chain dried up, finance channels dried up, businesses सारे बंद हो गए थे. So because of that, a lot of taxpayer delayed filing their GST or 3B. So in a lot of cases, what happened, if I take an example of financial year 1920. So for financial 1920, the due date for taking ITC was due date of September return of next financial year. So that means 20th October 2020. But बहुत cases में taxpayer ने let's say March 2020 की GST या 3B. So March 2020 की GST या 3B after 20th October 2025 की. तो उसमें let's say 100 rupees की liability थी, 80 rupees का ITC था, 20 rupees was the net cash payment which was paid through bank account. Now what happened is department issued a notice to that particular taxpayer, Mr. ABC, you have filed your GST or 3B after the due date to avail ITC for financial year 1920. आपने रिटर्न नवंबर 2020 में फाइल की है, नवंबर 20 में ITC की ड्यू डेट निकल चुकी है. So whatever ITC you have availed, that 80 rupees ITC you have availed in your GST or 3B, that is an ineligible ITC because that is time barred under section 16 subsection 4 of CGST Act. So you have to pay complete 100 rupees demand in cash. आप 80 rupees का ITC utilize नहीं कर सकते. And these notices were issued to a lot many taxpayers because lot many taxpayers defaulted on filing their GST or 3B because of COVID as well as other reasons in the initial years of GST. So to give relief to those taxpayers, government came out with the amendment in last budget only in financial year 2024 by introducing section 16 subsection 5 and 16 subsection 6. तो basically उसमें गवर्नमेंट ने क्या रिलीफ दिया फॉर फोर फाइनेंशियल ईयर. सो 17-18, 18-19, 19-20, 20-21 ये चारों सालों के लिए उन्होंने 16-4 की टाइम लिमिट इंक्रीज करके अप टू 30th नवंबर 2021 कर दी. तो अगर किसी ने 17-18 की जीएसटी या 3B 2020 में भी फाइल की है, जून 2021 में भी फाइल की है, सो अप टू एनी डेट up to 30th November 2021, then as per 16.4, that is a eligible ITC, that is not time bound. So that is the relief which has been provided by section 16 subsection 5. Then section 16 subsection 6 is on similar lines, but that is for cancellation. कि जहाँ पे किसी टैक्सपेयर का रजिस्ट्रेशन कैंसिल हो गया, देन सब्सिक्वेंटली उसको रेवोकेशन एप्लीकेशन के थ्रू वो रिस्टोर हो गया और किसी मीन से रिस्टोर हो गया, तो जो भी इंटरमीडियरी पीरियड की रिटर्न्स हैं उसके लिए भी गवर्नमेंट ने 16 की टाइम लिमिट इंक्रीज कर दी थी. So in both these cases, government came up with a special mechanism by circular number 224, जिसमें the taxpayer had the option to go for rectification order. कि शो कॉज में होगा तो ऑर्डर में उसको ठीक कर देंगे, अगर ऑर्डर इशू हो चुका है देन taxpayer can go for rectification of order. So that whole special procedure was notified for 16.5 and 16.6. But for limited purpose of amnesty scheme, they have said that let's say किसी taxpayer को एक order issue हुआ है in which there are two different issues. एक 20 लाख की डिमांड है जिसमें 15 लाख की डिमांड बिकॉज ऑफ सेक्शन 16.4 है कि आपने 3B डिले फाइल की है, सो 16.4 में क्रेडिट टाइम बार्ड है, सो 15 lakhs डिमांड इज बिकॉज ऑफ दैट रीजन. And there is another 5 lakh rupees demand for some other reason, some ineligible ITC is there or some other issue is there. So now when the taxpayer wants to go for the amnesty scheme, they don't need to pay 20 lakhs because that 16.5 relief is also there. So they only need to pay 5 lakh rupees. जो 15 lakh का benefit 16.5 या 16.6 में covered है, taxpayer don't need to pay that amount also. So only the remaining amount of 5 lakh, only the tax amount, interest and penalty is also waived off. So only the 5 lakh rupees tax amount has to be paid under the amnesty scheme. Then so all the notices, orders issued under section 73, 107, 108. So normal notices, orders, order in original, order in appeal, and as well as the revision order. So where any authority has revised any order under section 108, so against that order also the taxpayer can go for the scheme. Then अब बहुत बार क्या होता है, so let's say there is one taxpayer, Mr. ABC, उनको सेक्शन 74 में एक ऑर्डर इशू हुआ. When he went into appeal against that order, so first appellate authority agreed that this should not be a case for fraud. So tax demand upheld कर दी first appellate authority ने कि tax demand तो payable है, but it is not a case of fraud. That was a genuine bona fide mistake, so that is not a case of fraud. So in that case, as per section 75(2), the proper officer has to issue a fresh order treating converting his 74 order into a 73 order. So for that, those orders are also covered because ultimately those orders are issued under section 73. So those are also covered in the amnesty scheme. And for that, a special timeline has also been given that for those cases, tax payment can be made up to 6 months from the date of the reassessment order. So let's say कि order in appeal फाइल हुई ऑर्डर के अगेंस्ट February 2025 में, उस अथॉरिटी का ऑर्डर आ गया, डायरेक्शंस आ गए मार्च 2025 में कि दिस इज नॉट अ केस फॉर 74, कन्वर्टेड इनटू 73. Then in May 2025, the proper officer issued a reassessed order under section 73. So then from May 2025, 6 months will be seen. So May से 6 महीने, November 2025. So taxpayer has the time till November 2025 to go for amnesty scheme against that order. So उसमें special time limit भी मिल जाती है for tax payment as well as filing SPL 0102. And next, this is a very, very important point. If a taxpayer has gone for this amnesty scheme and a relief order has been issued in SPL 05, then it is a final order. No appeal can be filed against that order, either by the department or by the taxpayer. एक बार आपने scheme में apply कर दिया and you have got the final relief order in SPL 05, then it is done, it is finished. After that, no appeal can be filed against that order. Sorry. So what are the conditions? क्या क्या हमें कंडीशन देखने पड़ेंगे टू गो फॉर दिस स्कीम? सो फर्स्ट इज तीन फाइनेंशियल ईयर्स कवर्ड है, 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20. फुल टैक्स पेमेंट हैज टू बी मेड. सो जितनी भी टैक्स पेमेंट है कंप्लीट टैक्स पेमेंट करनी पड़ेगी, इवन इफ देयर इज अ शॉर्टफॉल ऑफ 1 रुपी इन द टैक्स पेमेंट, द बेनिफिट ऑफ दिस स्कीम विल नॉट बी गिवन. इसीलिए टू बी ऑन अ सेफर साइड, आप 5 रुपए 10 रुपए एक्स्ट्रा पे कर दीजिए इन द मिनिस्ट्री स्कीम, बिकॉज इवन इफ देर इज अ शॉर्टफॉल ऑफ 1 रुपी और इवन 1 पैसा, technically department has the power to reject your application in the scheme. Then due date of payment, so the tax payment has to be made by 31st March 2025. So there is a very big confusion in the market because there was a recent advisory by government just 2 days back on 21st March also, that taxpayers are facing a lot of problems when they are filing SPL 01 or SPL 02. Especially SPL 02 में बहुत केसेस में कभी ऑर्डर नंबर फेच नहीं हो रहा, या ऑर्डर नंबर हम पुट कर रहे हैं तो उसकी डिटेल्स फेच नहीं हो रही, टैक्स अमाउंट फेच नहीं हो रहा, गलत टैक्स अमाउंट फेच हो रहा है. So a lot of technical problems are coming when the taxpayers are filing SPL 01 or SPL 02. So a very, very important clarification. The deadline of 31st March is only for tax payment. 31st March तक आपको सिर्फ tax payment करना है. उसके बाद taxpayers get 3 additional months. So 31st March से 30th June तक का टाइम मिलता है to file the application in SPL 01, SPL 02. So tax payment has to be made by 31st March, but application के लिए 3 additional months हैं taxpayer के पास. And अगर रीअसेस्ड ऑर्डर है जो 74 से 73 में रीअसेस हुआ है, देन एज वी डिस्कस्ड 6 महीने है फ्रॉम द डेट ऑफ रीअसेस्ड ऑर्डर अंडर सेक्शन 73. Then erroneous refund is not covered. Any year after financial 1920 is not covered. That we have discussed. That interest and penalty on uncovered. So this point we will cover a little later. Then again, this is a very important point. So no refund of already paid interest and liability. So let's say किसी टैक्स पेयर ने ऑलरेडी इंटरेस्ट पे कर दिया या पार्शियल अमाउंट इंटरेस्ट का पे कर दिया, बट ही इज फाइटिंग द केस. तो लेट्स से 10 लाख की डिमांड आई थी, उस पर 5 लाख का इंटरेस्ट था, 2 लाख की पेनल्टी थी. उसने टैक्स पेमेंट किया हुआ है थोड़ा बहुत, थोड़ा सा इंटरेस्ट पेमेंट किया हुआ है, थोड़ी सी पेनल्टी की पेमेंट की हुई है. ही इज फाइटिंग द केस. नाउ आफ्टर द एमनेस्टी स्कीम द टैक्स पेयर वांट्स टू गो फॉर द एमनेस्टी स्कीम. So in that case, any amount of interest or penalty which the taxpayer has paid, that will not be refunded back. I think this is a very uniform standard theme of government in GST. Whenever they give any kind of relief to the taxpayer, if any amount has already been paid by the taxpayer, no refund is allowed. So that is a very standard requirement of any scheme, of any benefit given by the government from at least past 7-8 years, ever since GST has come. Whether it is legal or not, whether any challenge can be made to this, that we will discuss later. So now we come on to the procedure part. कि कैसे करना है, क्या प्रोसीजर है, प्रोसीजर में क्या इश्यूज आ सकते हैं, कैसे उसको टैकल करना है. So all those things we will cover. So first is how to make the payment, because the most important part is making the payment before, on or before 31st March 2025. So just a second. So, how to make the payment? So, if any notice has been issued, there is no order yet, but a notice or a statement has been issued under Section 73, then Form DRC 3 has to be filed, giving reference of that show cause notice number. If any order has been issued, so for that, a general advisory was also issued some time back that if any order has been issued and the taxpayer wants to make any payment against that order, so instead of filing DRC 3, the taxpayer has to go directly to the e-liability ledger. So there is an option in specifically in GST portal, payment towards demand. So taxpayer को वो वाले option पे जाना है, they have to click on that option, they have to select the order against which they have to make the payment, and from that option they have to make the payment. So in this case, what happens is the e-liability ledger, which is maintained on the GST portal, that properly records all these transactions. So e-liability ledger, mein, as soon as an order is passed by the officer, there is a debit entry which is posted in the e-liability ledger. Now, when the taxpayer makes payment through that payment towards demand option, against the debit entry, a credit entry is also entered in the e-liability ledger. So e-liability ledger set off हो जाता है, उसमें due amount खत्म हो जाता है. But a lot of taxpayers files DRC 3 against the demand order. पहले ये functionality भी नहीं थी, तो पहले default practice थी DRC 3 की. Now after this functionality has come, still a lot of taxpayers are filing DRC 3. In a lot of cases, there is technical difficulties also, like if manual order has been issued or order is not properly reflecting on the GST portal. So in those cases also, the taxpayers are filing DRC 3 for payments against the order. So in those cases, the government came out with a special procedure of filing DRC 3A. So अगर आपने order issue हुआ हुआ है taxpayer का, he has filed made the tax payments against that order in DRC 3, then he has to file another form called DRC 3A. So that application DRC 3A will link that DRC 3 with the order. So unless and until DRC 3A is filed, it will not be considered a valid payment for amnesty scheme also. This is a very, very, very important point because a lot of taxpayers are going to miss filing DRC 3A, and department can tomorrow go and say that DRC 3A was not filed. So we are rejecting your application in the amnesty scheme. So this is a very, very important requirement. Then a very frequent question which we are getting from a lot of taxpayers is that whether the payment has to be made from e-cash ledger only, or we can use the ITC also. So there is no restriction anywhere in the GST Act or rules or circular that payment for the scheme has to be made in cash. So even if ITC is available, it can be used for payment of tax under the scheme. Obviously, if any RCM payment is there, any e-commerce under 9(5) payment is there, or any erroneous refund payment is there, when the refund was paid in cash. So these cases, the amount has to be paid through e-cash ledger, but in all other cases, e-cash ledger as well as e-credit ledger can be used for payment of tax. Then another important point. So let's say an order has been passed and the taxpayer has gone and filed appeal against that order. Or order in appeal आ गया from first appellate authority and the taxpayer wants to file an appeal against that order before appellate tribunal, or the he has filed a writ petition before the High Court or specially petition before the Supreme Court. So in all those cases, if the taxpayer wants to go for the amnesty scheme, then he has to withdraw the appeal or the writ petition or the SLP before the Supreme Court to get benefit of this amnesty scheme. So if we see the documents which are required to file for the scheme, so they need the taxpayer to upload the withdrawal order which is issued by the authority. So if it is the first appeal, the appellate authority, if it is the second appeal, tribunal, High Court, Supreme Court, so the taxpayer have to get a withdrawal order from that authority to go for this amnesty scheme. But the government has given a very good relief that for initial filing of SPL 0102, you can just give an application for withdrawal either before the first appellate authority or before High Court or Supreme Court. Appellate tribunal, as of now, it is not yet constituted. So practically it is not there. So we will not be talking about it. So first appellate authority, High Court, Supreme Court, if the appeal or writ or SLP has been filed, the taxpayer can simply give a letter to them for withdrawal of their appeal audit, and a copy of that letter duly acknowledged by the appellate authority or High Court, Supreme Court. So that letter can be attached in SPL 0102, and that will be sufficient compliance for the scheme in the initial phase. Then later on, when the final order for withdrawal order is issued by the authority, so at that time, so that can be 1 month later, that can be 6 months later, that can be 1 year later. So whenever that order is issued by the authority, at that time, the taxpayer can upload that withdrawal order, and after that, his amnesty scheme application will be approved. Another important point, so this advisory was issued recently by GST portal, that from 21st, so they have now introduced the option to withdraw appeals in GST APL 01W 03W to withdraw the appeals filed by the taxpayer. But right now that online appeal withdrawal facility is only available for appeals which are filed after 21st March 2023. So for those applications, the taxpayer can go online and file the appeal withdrawal order, and copy of that application can be given as in proof. For all the appeals which are filed before 21st March 2023, the taxpayer have to give the application for withdrawal manually to the jurisdictional appellate authority, and copy of that letter has to be attached with the application in SPL 02. So what are the documents which are needed to be filed in the amnesty scheme? So the self-attested copy of the order or notice against which this application is being filed. Again, this is a very important point, that only if there is a notice or order, only then the taxpayer can go for amnesty scheme. If the taxpayer knows about their demand, that there is some demand which the taxpayer has to pay, but department ने कोई notice या order issue नहीं किया उस demand के against, then the taxpayer cannot go for this scheme, because this scheme is only to reduce the existing litigation. So self-assisted copy of the notice and order, DRC3, copy of DRC3 and DRC3A if it is payment is made through that route. अगर आपने payment towards demand वाले route से pay किया है, then there is no need. But अगर DRC3 से किया है तो DRC3 and 3A की copy. And if any appeal or writ petition has been filed, then their withdrawal order or the application filed for the withdrawal of that appeal or writ petition. Then so this is how it looks on GST portal. So this is just to give a broad idea कि when you go on GST portal तो कैसा आपको application दिखेगा, कैसा interface दिखेगा. So my services, user services, my application, वहाँ पे एक specific option आपको मिलेगा, application for labor scheme under 128A. So यहाँ पे आप existing application जो filed हैं वो भी check कर सकते हो, new application apply कर सकते हैं. Then if you click on new application तो SPL 0102 दोनों option आ जाएंगे. Then for SPL 02, this is some of the questions they will ask. Whether demand order was issued through GST portal, appeal has been filed, withdrawal application has been filed, writ petition withdrawal has been filed, order is issued in 73 or 74. Because if issued in 74, then scheme is not applicable. Whether order covered in 75, so reassessment हुआ है क्या? So 74 में only benefit is available if the order has been reassessed under section 73. Then whether it includes any amount for erroneous refund. Then after that questionnaire, this is the screen of main SPL 02. So which mobile number you need, which email ID you need. So this is only you will be able to select from the mobile number and email IDs we have given on the GST portal. आप नया नंबर नहीं डाल सकते हो. Then details of the demand order. So this is basically the area wherein a lot of taxpayers are having problem. That either this order reference number का drop down है, यहाँ पे order reference number दिखता नहीं है, या फिर after selecting the order reference number, proper details are not being auto-fetched. So a lot of these kind of issues are being faced by a lot of taxpayers. So for that, the government has also issued an advisory that we will correct all these technical glitches, but till 31st March, you only pay the tax amount. Then we will you have time till June to file the application under SPL 0102. And all these supporting documents have to be uploaded. All these declarations undertaking has to be given that I will not file any appeal. I have withdrawn the application. I have withdrawn the appeal. I will not file any appeal against SPL 05. I will not file any writ petition under SPL 05. That we will discuss a bit later on because that is a very interesting undertaking they are taking from us. So these are the general declarations which you have to give to go for the amnesty scheme. Then this is the procedure कि क्या क्या होगा. So we have also made a flow chart for easy understanding. So that we will discuss when we get to the flow chart. So this is the flow chart. I think this will be very convenient for everyone to understand. So you have to file SPL 01 or 02. SPL 01 is for notices. SPL 02 is for orders. So department has 3 months time to either approve or reject the application. अगर 3 months में department कोई action नहीं लेता, then the application is deemed approved. So deemed approved, SPL 05 will be issued, which is a amnesty approval order, relief order. If the department accepts the appeal within 3 months, then also SPL 05 will be issued and your case will be closed. But if the department rejects the appeal, so in that case, department will issue a show cause notice under SPL 03, giving an opportunity of being heard to the assessee. कि आप बताओ what is the problem, why we should not reject your application. Then the assessee has to file reply against that SPL 03 in form SPL 04 within 1 month of receipt of SPL 03. Then after that reply within 3 months, the department has to, if the department finds that the reply is satisfactory, then the department can issue SPL 05 again to accept the amnesty scheme application. And if the departments think that reply is not satisfactory, then they can issue a rejection order in SPL 07. Or if any, or if the reply is not furnished. So if the taxpayer does not furnish any reply within 1 month, then department can directly issue the rejection orders within 4 months from issue of SPL 03. Then, so this rejection order is an proper order again under GST law. So if the taxpayer is not happy with the rejection order in SPL 07, then he can go to appeal against that order like any other order. So section 107, APL 01 can be filed against the rejection order in SPL 07. So after that, if the first appellate authority accepts the application of the taxpayer in APL 01, so an approval order will be issued in SPL 06 this time, not SPL 05, SPL 06. And if the first appellate authority is not satisfied with the appeal, then rejection order will be issued in GST APL 04. So this is the complete process. And then see, after that order, if the taxpayer is not satisfied, then he has the normal process. So after getting rejection order from the appellate authority, then the taxpayer can go to appellate tribunal, then to High Court and Supreme Court, or directly through writ petition to High Court. So जो normal order के लिए process होता है, same process, same remedy, same alternate remedies are available against SPL 07 as well. So I think this all this we have covered in the flow chart. So one important point. So if any application, if any appeal or writ petition was filed, and during application the taxpayer only furnished the application for withdrawal, and withdrawal order was issued later on, then this time limit of 3 months will start when the taxpayer uploads that withdrawal order from the authority. तो लेट्स से आपने टैक्सपेयर ने आज मार्च 2025 में पेमेंट कर दी, देन मई 2025 में टैक्सपेयर ने SPL 01 की एप्लीकेशन फाइल की, एंड उस टाइम पे टैक्सपेयर ने एप्लीकेशन फाइल कर दी थी फॉर विड्रॉल ऑफ द अपील. Final withdrawal order was issued by the first appellate authority in, let's say, August 2025. फिर सितंबर विद इन 1 मंथ, दैट इज ऑल्सो रिक्वायरमेंट कि जैसे ही विड्रॉल ऑर्डर इशू होता है विद इन 1 मंथ द टैक्स पेयर हैज टू अपलोड दैट विड्रॉल ऑर्डर टू द जीएसटी पोर्टल। सो अगस्त 2025 में विड्रॉल ऑर्डर आया, सितंबर 2025 में टैक्स पेयर ने वो विड्रॉल ऑर्डर अपलोड कर दिया जीएसटी पोर्टल पे। सो द 3 मंथ्स विल स्टार्ट फ्रॉम सितंबर 2025 जब विड्रॉल ऑर्डर अपलोड हुआ है ऑन जीएसटी पोर्टल। देन नेक्स्ट वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इशू, what happens when you withdraw the appeal and your application under amnesty is rejected due to any reason? So in that case, your original appeal will be restored. So what is the process for that? So against SPL 07 के against the taxpayer has a time of 3 months plus 1 month. So 3 months normal plus 1 month condonation to file the appeal. So if the assessee withdraw, if any taxpayer, सो लेट अस टेक अ केस, देयर इज अ टैक्सपेयर एबीसी, उन्होंने अपील फाइल की हुई थी, उन्होंने अपील को विड्रॉ कर लिया टू अप्लाई फॉर द स्कीम। देन व्हेन ही वेंट फॉर द स्कीम उनकी एप्लीकेशन रिजेक्ट हो गई ड्यू टू एनी एक्सप्लिसिट रीजन। नाउ द taxpayer against wants to go back to his original appeal which he has filed. So the taxpayer has to wait for 4 months after SPL 07 because 4 महीने तक SPL 07 के अगेंस्ट अपील करने की टाइम लिमिट अवेलेबल होती है। So up to after 4 months from SPL 07, taxpayer has to wait. If he does not file any appeal during that 4 months against SPL 07, then after the expiry of these 4 months, his original appeal will be restored and he can go against that remedy. Second case, let's say उसने SPL 07 के against appeal file कर दी. Then authority, first appellate authority के पास appeal गई and the first appellate authority rejected his appeal against SPL 07. So in that case also, the original appeal of the taxpayer will be restored and against that original appeal he can pursue. But अगर let's say कि APL 04 के अगेंस्ट भी टैक्सपेयर एपलेट ट्राइब्यूनल में गया, हाई कोर्ट में गया, सुप्रीम कोर्ट में गया, वहां पे उसकी एमनेस्टी की एप्लीकेशन रिजेक्ट हो गई बिकॉज SPL 07 के अगेंस्ट जो प्रोसीडिंग्स है दैट इज ओनली ऑन अ लिमिटेड एस्पेक्ट that whether the taxpayer is eligible to go for amnesty scheme or not. So against that SPL 07 order, taxpayer can not go into merits. जब SPL 07 के against appeal file होगी वहां पे taxpayer merits argue नहीं कर सकता, वहां पे सिर्फ इतना argument होगा whether the taxpayer is eligible for amnesty scheme or not. So if the taxpayer goes to tribunal or high court or supreme court and thereafter his application is his appeal is rejected by those forums, then there is no process given in the GST law to restore appeal in those cases. So logically, legally वो restore होनी चाहिए, but there is no process in GST law, so that can create a problem. Similarly, in cases में भी appeal exactly GST portal पे कैसे restore होगी, how it will work on GST portal, that is not yet clarified by the department. So proper clarity is needed on that aspect also. Apart from that, सो हमने वो केस तो कवर कर लिया जहां टैक्स पेयर ने अपील विड्रॉ की थी। बट लेट अस टेक एन एग्जांपल दैट मिस्टर एबीसी हैं, उनको जनवरी में कोई ऑर्डर मिला, जनवरी में ही गॉट हिज ऑर्डर अगेन, ऑर्डर अंडर सेक्शन 73। ही वांटेड टू फाइल एन अपील अगेंस्ट दैट ऑर्डर, बट फिर एमनेस्टी स्कीम देखा, एबीसी का मन किया कि आई विल गो अंडर द एमनेस्टी स्कीम एंड ही फाइल्ड एन एप्लीकेशन अगेंस्ट दैट एमनेस्टी स्कीम। एंड सिंस उसने अपील फाइल नहीं की थी, ही ओनली गॉट द ऑर्डर, he had not filed the appeal against that order. So when he applied for the amnesty scheme, उसने बस whether appeal filed में no लिख दिया और amnesty scheme के लिए अप्लाई कर दिया। Later on उसकी एप्लीकेशन रिजेक्ट हो गई ड्यू टू एनी रीजन कि एप्लीकेशन एलिजिबल नहीं थी और कुछ इशू था। नाउ व्हाट इज द सिचुएशन, बिकॉज जहां पे अपील फाइल हो गई थी एंड द अपील वाज विथड्रॉन बाय द टैक्स पेयर, उस केस में तो दे हैव गिवन अ स्पेसिफिक प्रोविजन दैट दैट अपील विल बी रिस्टोर्ड। बट इन दिस केस व्हाट विल हैपन इज जनवरी में ऑर्डर आया, मार्च में उसने एमनेस्टी स्कीम की पेमेंट कर दी, एप्लीकेशन फाइल कर दी, लेट से जून में जाके अथॉरिटी ने उसको रिजेक्ट कर दिया, यू आर नॉट एलिजिबल फॉर एमनेस्टी स्कीम। नाउ द टैक्स पेयर कैन नॉट गो इन द अपील अगेंस्ट द ओरिजिनल ऑर्डर बिकॉज ओरिजिनल ऑर्डर जनवरी में आया था, तो जनवरी में भी मई में जाके उसका विद कॉन्डोनेशन अपील का टाइम लिमिट खत्म हो चुका है। So there is no provision in GST law for going in appeal against in that case जहाँ पे अपील फाइल ही नहीं हुई थी, because the assessee wanted to go for the amnesty scheme. So in that case, what I would practically suggest is either the taxpayer should file an appeal कि अगर आपको order आ गया है, you want to go for amnesty scheme also, but it is better कि पहले आप appeal file करो in April 01 and then file an application for withdrawal of the appeal. So in that case, by law you will be covered and your original appeal will be restored in case your amnesty scheme application is rejected. Alternatively, अगर ये नहीं कर पा रहे हैं या इसमें कुछ इशू आ रहा है, then the taxpayer should at least give an letter to the department that he is not filing the appeal because he is going for the amnesty scheme, and if his application is rejected in the amnesty scheme, then he has the right to file the appeal against his original order. So at least that letter should be submitted. But personally, I feel filing an appeal and then withdrawing it is a better option because even if that letter is there, that is going to be of very limited help. उससे बहुत ज़्यादा support नहीं मिलेगा. So better option is to file an appeal and then withdraw it. Second, very very important point: when the taxpayer is withdrawing the appeal, he has to mention two very important points in the appeal withdrawal application. First, that he is withdrawing this appeal because he wants to go for the amnesty scheme. So that has to be very, very clearly mentioned. Second, if his application is rejected in the amnesty scheme, then he has the right to restore this appeal. So although these points are mentioned in GST law, but practically it would be very, very good if these points are also mentioned in the appeal withdrawal application so that there is no confusion from assessee side. Then these are some very small points that it only covers interest and penalty. So any kind of late fees like delayed filing of GST or 3B, all those things are not covered. If any SPL 05 is issued, relief order issued, then no appeal is filed, no appeal is allowed against that order. Okay, this is now a very important important point. So let's say taxpayer के against show cause notice issue हुआ. Again, we will take example of Mr. ABC. उनको सबसे ज़्यादा notice आते हैं हमारे examples में. So ABC को एक show cause notice issue हुआ in which there was a demand of 50 lakhs. When ABC went to the adjudication authority, उन्होंने अपना केस रिप्रेजेंट किया. एजुडिकेशन अथॉरिटी को कुछ ग्राउंड्स पे सेटिस्फैक्शन हुआ कि ये ग्राउंड्स ठीक लग रहे हैं. So they dropped the demand from 50 lakhs to 20 lakhs. So order was passed only for 20 lakh rupees. Now department has gone to appeal against the 30 lakhs which was dropped. तो डिपार्टमेंट के पास भी ऑप्शन है कि जितना अमाउंट ड्रॉप होता है डिपार्टमेंट कैन आल्सो गो इनटू अपील against that order. So in that case, what is the process? So in that case, when the taxpayer is applying for the scheme, अभी तो order 20 lakhs का है. Appeal department appeal has been filed, but it is pending as on the date of application for amnesty scheme. So in that case, जो 20 lakhs वाला order है, the taxpayer can give reference of that 20 lakhs order और वो 20 लाख पे करके amnesty scheme opt कर सकते हैं. बट लेटर ऑन, सो जो डिपार्टमेंट की अपील फाइल होगी, सो लेट्स से डिपार्टमेंट की अपील रिजेक्ट हो गई, जो 30 लाख डिमांड ड्रॉप हुई थी उसके अगेंस्ट डिपार्टमेंट ने अपील फाइल की थी, दैट इज रिजेक्टेड बाय द फर्स्ट अपेलेट अथॉरिटी. इन दैट केस देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम. और लेट्स से डिपार्टमेंट फर्दर अपील भी फाइल नहीं करता, डिपार्टमेंट हैज एक्सेप्टेड इट्स डिफीट. तो जो 30 लाख ड्रॉप हो गए हैं वो मामला खत्म हो गया, उसमें कुछ नहीं करना. 20 lakhs हैज बीन पेड, एमनेस्टी स्कीम हैज बीन अप्लाइड. बट इफ द फर्स्ट अपेलेट अथॉरिटी एक्सेप्ट्स द डिपार्टमेंट्स अपील और वो 30 लाख रुपीज रिस्टोर हो जाते हैं, 30 लाख रुपीज की डिमांड वो अपहेल्ड करती है, या लेट्स से 30 लाख अपहेल्ड नहीं किया, उसमें से 15 लाख से अपहेल्ड किया, 10 लाख से अपहेल्ड किया, सो जितना भी अमाउंट अपहोल्ड किया, so that amount also has to be paid by the taxpayer within 3 months from the order of the from the order. जो फर्स्ट appellate अथॉरिटी, हाई कोर्ट, सुप्रीम कोर्ट, जिस भी फॉरम पे डिपार्टमेंट ने अपील फाइल की थी, सो उस फॉरम का जो ऑर्डर आया है, within 3 months from that order, the taxpayer has to pay the amount of tax of that order also. Otherwise, his application for the complete amount. तो जो 20 lakhs के लिए भी फाइल हुआ था, प्लस जो सब्सिक्वेंट 10 lakhs अपहोल्ड हुए, सो पूरे 30 lakhs के लिए स्कीम वॉइड हो जाएगी एंड पूरे 30 lakhs के लिए देन इंटरेस्ट एंड पेनल्टी विल बी पेबल बाय द टैक्सपेयर और अपील विल बी रिस्टोर्ड. सो मेरिट पे टैक्सपेयर कैन फाइट द केस. बट बेनिफिट स्कीम का बेनिफिट, एमनेस्टी स्कीम का बेनिफिट खत्म हो जाएगा पूरे के पूरे ऑर्डर के लिए। सेम इज द केस इफ एनी रिवीजन ऑर्डर हैज बीन पास अंडर 108, कि ओरिजिनल ऑर्डर पास हुआ, टैक्स पेयर वेंट इनटू एमनेस्टी, देन रिवीजन ऑर्डर पास हो गया, अमाउंट इंक्रीज हो गया, so जो increased amount है that also has to be paid within 3 months from the revision order. Then who is the proper officer for issuance of your amnesty scheme application? So if SPL 01 is filed, so the proper adjudicating authority, he will be the proper officer. And if the SPL 02 is filed, then the proper officer, who is the recovery officer for your case, he will be the proper officer to issue SPL 03, SPL 05, all those applications. Then what is the time limit for tax payment? This we have already discussed. So for normal cases, tax payment 31st March, last date to file application 30th June. If any notice or order was issued in 74 and subsequently reassessed in 73, so then 6 months. But now here the law is a bit confusing. So if you see the due date for payment, as per the notification, the due date for payment in this case is 6 months from the issuance of order. And if you see the last date for application, then that is 6 months from communication. तो सी अगर हम जीएसटी पोर्टल की बात करेंगे तो अगर ऑनलाइन सर्विस ऑफ ऑर्डर हो रहा है देन इट डज नॉट मेक मच डिफरेंस, बिकॉज जिस दिन ऑर्डर इशू होता है सेम डे जीएसटी पोर्टल पे अपलोड हो जाता है एंड सेम डे कम्युनिकेशन मान लिया जाता है, द टैक्स कम्युनिकेशन हैज बीन डन ऑन द सेम डेट टू द टैक्स पेयर. बट इन केस एनी मैनुअल ऑर्डर हैज बीन इशूड या फिर जीएसटी पोर्टल पे भी उन्होंने कुछ दिनों के बाद इशू किया कि ऑर्डर तो इशू हो गया बट जीएसटी पोर्टल पे 3 दिन बाद 4 दिन बाद अपलोड हुआ, so in that case, the last date of payment and last date to file application will also be different, because last date of payment हम issuance of order की date से देखेंगे और last date to file application जब order tax payer को communicate हुआ है. But इसमें भी in notification they have written last date of payment as 6 months from issuance from order date. But if you see circular number 238 payment के लिए भी बोलता है कि communication 6 months from date of communication of the order, reassessed order. So थोड़ा यहाँ पे law में confusion है. So in a nutshell, अगर to be on a safer side, make the payment and file the application within 6 months from the order date. But अगर किसी केस में communication delay हुआ है और within 6 months from communication payment हुई है and appeal file application file हुई है in SPL 02, then we have a very good ground to argue. तो उस केस में हम लड़ सकते हैं, but to be on a safer side, it is better to file the application and make the payment within 6 months from the order date. This we have already covered. So now coming on to the last portion of our webinar. So these are some important clarifications. Then we will take up the open issues and then the queries of the participants. So first very important clarification कि this benefit is available even if the tax payment was made before this scheme came into force. So this amnesty scheme was notified with effect from 1st November 2024. तो अगर किसी टैक्स पेयर ने उससे पहले पेमेंट कर दी थी तो इफेक्टिवली उसने एमनेस्टी के लिए पेमेंट नहीं की थी, उसने नॉर्मल पेमेंट कर दी थी, स्टिल ही इज एलिजिबल टू गो फॉर दिस एमनेस्टी स्कीम. इन अ लॉट ऑफ केसेस व्हाट हैपेंस इज कि टैक्स पेयर ने टैक्स पे कर दिया है but the interest and penalty is being contested by the taxpayer. So let's say RCM का केस है, there was a recent circular for RCM also कि RCM में टैक्सपेयर को कोई डिमांड पे करनी थी, उसने 17-18 की डिमांड आज के डेट में उसने टैक्स तो पे कर दिया, बट ही इज कंटेस्टिंग ऑन द इंटरेस्ट पोर्शन और ऑन द पेनल्टी पोर्शन कि पेनल्टी पे नहीं होनी चाहिए या इंटरेस्ट पे नहीं होना चाहिए. So those cases are also covered. So if the order is issued only for interest or only for penalty or for interest and penalty both, then you can go in the amnesty scheme and you don't need to pay anything because the tax is already paid. But in this case, what one of the problems which practically the taxpayers are facing is you have to upload proof of payment when you file the application. But in this case, tax payment was already made earlier and interest and penalty pay नहीं करना. So उस case में there is no proof of payment which can be uploaded. So in that case, what we are practically doing is we are uploading a one-page covering letter explaining our case to the department and giving reference of circular number 238. Then one very important point which was clarified by Circular 238 is if there is any interest payable because of your declared liability. Declared liability means that some invoices you declared in GSTR 1 or GSTR 3B, बट आपका GSTR 3B लेट फाइल हुआ, आपको उसका इंटरेस्ट पे करना है, या 3B में लेट रिपोर्टिंग हुई, अप्रैल का इनवॉइस मई में report हो गया, GSTR 1 में, GSTR 3B में है. So if because of that, someone has unmuted, if they can mute their. Yes, sorry. So we were discussing that if any self-assessed liability is there, कि वो रिटर्न में liability लेट रिपोर्ट हुई है या रिटर्न लेट फाइल हुई है, उसकी वजह से कोई इंटरेस्ट पेबल है, सो उसके लिए स्कीम का बेनिफिट अवेलेबल नहीं है, बिकॉज एज पर सर्कुलर दैट इज डायरेक्टली कवर्ड अंडर सेक्शन 75 सबसेक्शन 12, against which direct recovery is possible under section 79. So that is not covered in section 73, 74. This is what circular has clarified. But अगर किसी टैक्स पेयर को डिलेड रिपोर्टिंग ऑफ रिटर्न्स या डिलेड रिपोर्टिंग ऑफ सप्लाईज के लिए शो कॉज इशू हो गया है अंडर सेक्शन 73, 74, then this is my personal view that since notice has been issued in 73, the
Should be covered.
taxpayer can go for the amnesty scheme, but as per the circular, the taxpayer is not eligible. So that is one area where the taxpayer has to be very, very careful. Then, again, this is a very, very important point. So let's say there is a taxpayer, Mr. ABC, हमारे favorite taxpayer. उनको एक ऑर्डर इशू हुआ है या नोटिस इशू हुआ है कवरिंग 4 डिफरेंट ईयर्स फ्रॉम 1718 टू 2021. तो अब 3 साल के लिए तो एमनेस्टी स्कीम अवेलेबल है, बट फोर्थ ईयर 2021 के लिए एमनेस्टी स्कीम अवेलेबल नहीं है. तो वेदर द टैक्स पेयर कैन गो फॉर एमनेस्टी स्कीम अगेंस्ट दैट ऑर्डर ऑल्सो. क्या वो सिर्फ 3 साल के लिए जाएगा या 4 सालों के लिए जाएगा, फोर्थ ईयर का क्या होगा? सो वन थिंग विच वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड इज, जब भी कोई भी स्कीम होती है, आई एम नॉट जस्ट टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस एमनेस्टी स्कीम, आप सर्विस टैक्स में जब SVLDRS आया था, सबका विश्वास लेगेसी डिस्प्यूट रेजोल्यूशन स्कीम इन 2019, इनकम टैक्स में कभी भी कोई स्कीम आई है, सर्विस टैक्स में पहले कोई स्कीम आई है. सो एवरी स्कीम इज बेस्ड ऑन ऑर्डर, कि एक सिंगल ऑर्डर या सिंगल नोटिस. तो या तो पूरा का पूरा नोटिस कवर होगा अंडर द एमनेस्टी स्कीम, या फिर पूरा का पूरा ऑर्डर कवर नहीं होगा. तो लेट्स से किसी टैक्स पेयर के 3 डिफरेंट इश्यूज थे कि उसको ऑर्डर आया, उसमें इशू 1, इशू 2, इशू 3. अब वो 2 इश्यूज के लिए तो एमनेस्टी स्कीम में जाना चाहता है, तीसरे इशू के लिए नहीं जाना चाहता. सो वेदर दैट इज अलाउड? नो. एमनेस्टी स्कीम इज वेरी वेरी क्लियर कि इफ यू वांट टू गो फॉर एमनेस्टी, गो फॉर द कंप्लीट ऑर्डर. या तो आपका पूरा ऑर्डर एमनेस्टी में कवर होगा, अदरवाइज पूरा कुछ ऑर्डर में कुछ भी कवर नहीं होगा. नाउ कमिंग बैक टू आवर केस के जहाँ 4 साल कवर होते हैं, 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20 एंड 2021. उस केस में द एमनेस्टी स्कीम इज एलिजिबल, बट इट इज ओनली एलिजिबल अप टू फाइनेंशियल ईयर 1920. तो 2021 के लिए टैक्स पेयर को टैक्स इंटरेस्ट पेनल्टी जो भी इस नोटिस के अंदर है उसको सारा कुछ पे करना पड़ेगा. ओनली देन ही विल गेट द रिलीफ ऑफ एमनेस्टी फॉर द रिमेनिंग 3 फाइनेंशियल ईयर. सिमिलर केसेस देयर जहाँ पे लेट्स से एरोनियस रिफंड एक ऑर्डर इशू हुआ है जिसमें नॉर्मल इशू भी है, कोई इनएलिजिबल ITC का रिवर्सल है, इशू 1, इशू 2 इज एरोनियस रिफंड. So erroneous refund के लिए this scheme is not eligible. But if the taxpayer wants to go for amnesty for that order, which also covers other issues, so erroneous refund वाले amount के लिए the taxpayer has to pay the complete tax and interest and penalty amount, and the taxpayer cannot litigate for that portion also. So erroneous refund का केस है फाइनेंशियल ईयर 1920 के बाद का कोई फाइनेंशियल ईयर है जो एक सिंगल ऑर्डर के अगेंस्ट कवर्ड है. So effectively the taxpayer has to admit and pay the tax on those issues also, if they want to get the benefit for other issues in that particular order. वो उन बचे हुए पोर्शन को लिटिगेट नहीं कर सकते, ये अलाउड नहीं है कि आप एक ऑर्डर में कुछ इश्यूज पे एमनेस्टी अप्लाई कर दो और कुछ इश्यूज के लिए आप लिटिगेट कर लो. पूरे ऑर्डर के लिए आपको इस एमनेस्टी में ही जाना पड़ेगा. और अगर उसमें कुछ इनएलिजिबल है कि पीरियड कवर्ड नहीं है या एरोनियस रिफंड है, तो उसमें आपको टैक्स इंटरेस्ट पेनल्टी सब पे करना पड़ेगा. उसके लिए प्रोसेस जो डिफाइंड है कि पहले आप पूरा टैक्स पेमेंट कर दीजिए, before filing the application, then file the application. Then when SPL 05 will be issued for acceptance, so उसमें जो अनकवर्ड पोर्शन है, सो जो भी एरोनियस रिफंड है या फाइनेंशियल 1920 के बाद का पीरियड है, उससे पर्टेनिंग इंटरेस्ट और पेनल्टी SPL 05 में मेंशन होगा. सो SPL 05 के बेसिस पे आपका डिमांड लेजर, ई लायबिलिटी लेजर में आपकी डिमांड मॉडिफाई हो जाएगी, एंड देन यू कैन पे द इंटरेस्ट एंड पेनल्टी विद इन 3 months from issuance of SPL 05. If interest and penalty is not paid within 3 months, then your amnesty scheme application will become null and void. So this is very, very important. सिमिलर इशू इज देयर कि लेट्स से अगर आपके एक ही साल के मल्टीपल नोटिसेस आए हुए हैं कि अलग अलग अथॉरिटीज ने अलग अलग इश्यूज, एक आपका ADT बनाया था, एक ASMT 10 आया था, एक कोई DGGI का नोटिस आया था, तो आपके एक ही ईयर के अलग अलग नोटिस या अलग अलग ऑर्डर आए हुए हैं. So you have to go for amnesty for separately for each and every application, because as I mentioned earlier, amnesty scheme में basis is the order. तो अगर 10 ऑर्डर हैं तो 10 अलग अलग एप्लीकेशन जाएंगी. ठीक है. देन दिस फोर्थ पॉइंट वी हैव डिस्कस्ड कि जहाँ डिपार्टमेंट अपील में चला गया और अमाउंट इंक्रीज हो गया तो 3 months में उसको पे करना है. देन अगर सुप्रीम कोर्ट में SLP फाइल्ड है, दैट आल्सो हैज टू बी विड्रॉन. Then this is applicable to all the IGST, CDST, SDST and compensation cess. चारों लॉस के लिए एमनेस्टी स्कीम एप्लीकेबल है. ट्रांजिशनल क्रेडिट के लिए भी एप्लीकेबल है अगर ट्रान वन रिलेटेड किसी का कोई इशू है, बट दैट इज ओनली एप्लीकेबल इफ द ट्रान वन क्रेडिट वाज क्रेडिटेड इन द ई क्रेडिट लेजर ऑफ द टैक्स पेयर अप टू 31 मार्च 2020. बिकॉज गवर्नमेंट का लॉजिक है कि ट्रान वन का क्रेडिट जिस फाइनेंशियल ईयर में ई क्रेडिट लेजर में क्रेडिट हुआ है वो उस ईयर का इशू है. तो इवन जो सेक्शन 73 74 की टाइमलाइंस भी कैलकुलेट होती हैं ट्रान वन वाले नोटिस के लिए, वो उसी बेसिस पे होती हैं कि अगर आपका ट्रान वन का क्रेडिट लेट से फरवरी 2020 में क्रेडिट हुआ, सो ड्यूरिंग फाइनेंशियल ईयर 1920 वो क्रेडिट हुआ है, तो वो 1920 का मैटर माना जाएगा. तो अगर वो 31 मार्च 20 तक क्रेडिट हो गया, देन यू आर एलिजिबल फॉर द एमनेस्टी स्कीम. इंपोर्ट के IGST का अगर आपका कोई इशू है, दैट इज नॉट कवर्ड बिकॉज दैट इज गवर्न्ड बाय कस्टम्स एक्ट, नॉट बाय IGST एक्ट. लेट से अगर किसी केस में DRC 3 तो फाइल हो गया आपका 31 मार्च 2025 से पहले, लेकिन DRC 3A जो लिंक करने के लिए फाइल करना होता है, दैट इज फाइल्ड आफ्टर 31 मार्च 2025. So in that case, the circular 238 has clarified कि date of payment will be considered as the date of DRC 3, not DRC 3A. तो DRC 3 अगर आपका 31 मार्च तक फाइल हो गया तो आपका वैलिड पेमेंट है, आपको एमनेस्टी में एलिजिबल हो जाओगे. अब इसमें एक और इंटरेस्टिंग केस डिस्कस करते हैं. तो लेट्स से कि किसी टैक्स पेयर ने पेमेंट तो कर दी ई कैश लेजर में, बट वो उस पेमेंट को सेट ऑफ नहीं कर पाया. मतलब ही वाज नॉट एबल टू फाइल DRC 3 एंड ही वाज नॉट एबल टू मेक द पेमेंट यूजिंग दैट पेमेंट टुवर्ड्स डिमांड ऑप्शन. वो दोनों में से कुछ भी नहीं कर पाया. तो ई कैश लेजर में तो 31 मार्च तक पैसा आ गया, बट वो DRC 3 या पेमेंट टुवर्ड्स डिमांड वाला ऑप्शन आफ्टर 31 मार्च, 1 अप्रैल को, 2 अप्रैल को, 10 अप्रैल को जाके वो फाइल हुआ. तो whether in that case the assessee is still eligible for amnesty. If we see so there is no specific clarification from the government on this particular case. But अगर हम गवर्नमेंट का जनरल माइंडसेट देखें, तो गवर्नमेंट जनरली कंसिडर्स द पेमेंट टू बी डन ओनली व्हेन इट सेट ऑफ फ्रॉम द कैश लेजर. तो सिर्फ कैश लेजर में पैसा डालना गवर्नमेंट उसको वैलिड पेमेंट कंसिडर नहीं करती. जब तक वो सेट ऑफ नहीं होता तब तक गवर्नमेंट के लिए वो पेमेंट नहीं है. So if we go to the department, their answer is going to be no. But in last year we have had some judgment. So we had the judgment of Iker Motors by Madras High Court, जहाँ पे इंटरेस्ट के लिए मद्रास हाई कोर्ट गेव अ फेवरेबल जजमेंट कि अगर आपका 3B ड्यूरिंग फाइलिंग ऑफ 3B अगर आपने ड्यू डेट से पहले कैश लेजर में पैसा डाल दिया और 3B फाइलिंग बाद में हुई है, तो दैट मीन्स आपको इंटरेस्ट नहीं पे करना, क्योंकि कैश लेजर में पैसा डालने का मतलब है इट इज एज गुड एज पेमेंट टू द गवर्नमेंट. तो अगर ऐसा कोई केस बाय चांस हमारा फंसता है कि जहाँ पे कैश लेजर में तो पेमेंट हो गई थी बट DRC 3 वाज फाइल्ड आफ्टर 31 मार्च, so we can litigate using those kind of judgments, but it is going to be very, very highly litigative. Department is definitely going to reject those applications, so taxpayer will have to fight. Then another important clarification, recovery from a third party. So if the taxpayer has initiated recovery proceedings और उन्होंने किसी थर्ड पार्टी से रिकवर कर लिया, बैंक अटैच करके बैंक से रिकवर कर लिया, किसी डेटर क्रेडिटर से गार्निशिंग प्रोसीडिंग्स के थ्रू रिकवर कर लिया और किसी मोड से रिकवर कर लिया पेमेंट बिफोर 31st March, so that will also be valid payment and taxpayer can go for amnesty scheme. Now, these are some of the open issues कि अब क्या क्या इश्यूज ऐसे हैं जिसमें अभी भी थोड़ा क्लैरिटी कम है या इश्यूज आ सकते हैं. So, first point we have discussed कि जहाँ पे सिर्फ order is only for demand of interest and penalty, there is no tax liability. So in that case, proof of payment will not be there obviously. So some covering letter, one page covering letter can be submitted, explaining the situation. Then this also we have discussed कि जहाँ पे waiver application reject हो गई under the amnesty scheme. So the exact methodology on GST portal is not clear. And where the appeal is not filed, वहाँ पे क्या करें? तो again my suggestion is अगर अपील आपको ऑर्डर आ गया एंड यू वांट टू गो इनटू एमनेस्टी, स्टिल आई वुड रिकमेंड फर्स्ट फाइल एन अपील एंड देन withdraw that appeal so that legally you are entitled for the restoration of appeal if your application in amnesty scheme is rejected. Then eligibility of ITC to the recipient. So this is again a very important point because amnesty scheme is only for section 73. We are not talking about section 74. So let's say कोई अब नया टैक्स पेयर लेते हैं, एबीसी के ऊपर काफी डिमांड आ गई है. So let us take example of Mr. XYZ. So Mr. XYZ made some taxable supplies to some of his customers. Department went to Mr. XYZ and demanded tax payment. XYZ was of the view कि उसकी supplies exempted है, इसलिए उसने tax payment नहीं किया. Department went to him कि आपकी supplies exempt नहीं है, taxable है. XYZ agreed. He paid the amount. Then amnesty scheme came, so he went to for the amnesty scheme कि मैं tax amount pay कर देता हूँ, interest penalty का मुझे waiver मिल जाएगा. So whether the recipients of XYZ, they can get the credit of the tax payment which is made by XYZ. Legally, yes, because payment has been made under 73, so it is not covered in block credit. And if XYZ issues debit note for those tax payment, so document is also there because on the basis of that debit note, the section 16(2) conditions are satisfied. Debit note के basis पे taxpayer recipient को credit मिल सकता है. But the problem is the payment will have been made through DRC3 या फिर जो पेमेंट थ्रू डिमांड वाला ऑप्शन है उसके थ्रू पेमेंट हुआ होगा. So the payment will not be reflected in GSTR 2B of the recipient क्योंकि 2B में तभी रिफ्लेक्ट होगा जब पेमेंट GSTR 1 और 3B के रूट से होगी. So even though legally the recipient is entitled to get the credit if proper debit notes etc. have been issued, but practically that will be a challenge because practically GSTR 1 और 3B के रूट से पेमेंट नहीं हुई होगी तो उसके 2B में रिफ्लेक्ट नहीं होगा. In my view, legally the recipient is entitled to get credit. So the recipient can take copies of the debit note and a proper letter from the supplier to have valid claim of ITC, but it will be litigative from the department, very very litigative. Similar problem will come कि जहाँ पे टैक्स पेयर ने GSTR 3B से पेमेंट कर दिया. अब now so let us take a very simple example. Let's say RCM की पेमेंट का एग्जांपल ले लेते हैं कि कोई 17-18 की RCM की पेमेंट थी. Taxpayer realized that he has to pay that amount और अभी फिर recently एक circular भी आ गया था कि the demand for 17-18 is paid in current financial year and the self invoice is also issued in current financial year, so the taxpayer can avail ITC. So let's say Mr. XYZ थे, उनको RCM की कोई पेमेंट रह गई थी. डिपार्टमेंट आया, उसने नोटिस इशू किया. नोटिस इशू करने के बाद टैक्स पेयर ने उस पेमेंट को GSTR 3B से पे कर दिया बिकॉज ही वांटेड टू अवेल ITC ऑफ दैट पेमेंट अंडर RCM. सो उसने 3B से पे करके उसका ITC अवेल कर लिया. नाउ ही वांट्स टू गो अंडर एमनेस्टी स्कीम. सो अगेन सेम प्रॉब्लम विल कम कि टैक्स पेमेंट तो मेड है, लीगली इज एंटाइटल्ड टू गो फॉर एमनेस्टी स्कीम, बट प्रैक्टिकली पोर्टल विल क्रिएट एन इशू बिकॉज द पेमेंट हैज बीन मेड थ्रू 3B. वो DRC3 या पेमेंट towards demand वाले ऑप्शन से पे नहीं हुआ, so portal will not allow you to file an application. So in that case, in my view, again, legally you are entitled. So if you are facing any practical challenge, then you have to write to the first to the GST department, and if GST department does not listen, then to the grievance portal, and then you might have to approach High Court also to get the relief. But legally, the taxpayer is entitled to get the relief of amnesty scheme in this case. Then next, so this is a legal issue, very technical legal issue. So this I came across when I was reading the language of Section 128A and the language of Circular 238. So there are three different categories which are covered in the scheme. So the third category, it talks about the case जहाँ पे order in appeal has been issued under section 107 or 108. So section 128 says the taxpayer can go if the order has been issued under section 107 or 108, and where no order has been filed by the appellate tribunal under 112, 113. So on a plain interpretation of that language, अगर किसी टैक्सपेयर का 74 में शो कॉज इशू हुआ था, 74 में ऑर्डर कंफर्म हुआ, एंड फिर 74 में फर्स्ट एपेलेट अथॉरिटी ने सेक्शन 107 में उसको ऑर्डर कंफर्म कर दिया, then technically speaking that is covered under section 128A. अगर आप 128A की plain language देखेंगे तो that is very clearly covered in 128A because 74 के जो 73 की requirement है that the notice and order has to be under 73, that is only in first two clauses which covers show cause notice and first original order in original. But when we talk about order in appeal, first order by appellate authority, that does not say section 73. If we go to circular 238, सर्कुलर 238 में उन्होंने लिखा हुआ है वो चीज थर्ड क्लॉज में भी दे हैव क्लियरली मेंशन कि ऑर्डर इन अपील अंडर 107 और 108 wherein the original order was issued under section 73 only that is eligible, but that condition is not mentioned in section 128A and we know circular cannot override the law. तो सर्कुलर में वो एक एडिशनल कंडीशन डालने से वो कंडीशन एक्ट में नहीं लगेगी. So I think that was a obviously that was an inadvertent error by the government, and then they have also realized that error and they have tried to correct it in circular 238, but they should have corrected it in section itself. अब उन्होंने बजट में भी इसको फाइनेंस एक्ट 2025 में they could have corrected it, but they have not corrected it in the still in the budget. So legally speaking, technically speaking, the taxpayer is entitled to go for amnesty scheme relief in even in those cases जहाँ पे original order was issued under 74 and order in appeal has been issued by the appellate authority under 107 or revision order has been issued in 108. Legally speaking, the taxpayer is entitled under the amnesty scheme to go for that also. Then if any manual order has been passed and appeal has been filed, so in that case, there will be a problem in filing DRC3A. So in that case, first, it is better to file a grievance with the GST portal. If after the grievance it is still not resolved, then you can file the application giving the copy of DRC3 and a covering letter explaining your situation. They also have a separate option on the self-service GST portal, issues related to waiver scheme. So any technical issues, if you have, you can go to that specific section to report the issue. So you will get a faster resolution. Then again, these are some legal, small legal issues that if any interest and penalty has been paid under protest. So whether refund for that is also not allowed. In my view, refund for that will be allowed because once you say a payment is under protest, then it becomes in the nature of deposit. It is not in the nature of interest or penalty. So in my view, in that case, the refund should be eligible. Then second is if tax payment is made by 31st March, but SPL 01 or 02 is not filed within time. So 30th June तक file नहीं हुआ, let's say it is filed by 31st July. So whether we can argue that it is a procedural violation and not a substantive violation. So I think definitely it is a very good ground because those timeline of 30th June is mentioned in CDST rules. And the heading of rule 164 is also condition and procedure. So we can definitely argue that it is a procedural violation only. It should not disqualify the application of amnesty, but that is going to be very, very litigated. If an application is made under amnesty, but late and SPL 05 has been issued. So let us discuss both the cases. कि application file हो गई है and but now the taxpayer realizes that they have a very good case to fight, so they want to litigate. So if the SPL 05 has not been issued, then the taxpayer can withdraw the application, even though there is no specific procedure in GST law or the circular or the rules to withdraw the application, but that is a legal right of the assessee. So they can file a application to the jurisdictional department for withdrawal of the application and amnesty scheme. If SPL 05 have been issued, then GST Act clearly says that that is a final order against which no appeal can be filed. So as per Indian laws, if against any order appeal cannot be filed, then the taxpayer has the option to go for writ petition. So that option will be open to the taxpayer. But if you remember, a little while back when we were discussing, when you are filing the application, you also give a declaration that I will not file any writ petition under against SPL 05. So whether that undertaking can stop you from filing writ petition before High Court? In my view, no. That one simple undertaking cannot take away your right of filing writ petition, but obviously that will go against you when you go for writ petition. And to go for writ petition, also you need some good grounds. So merely the ground that you now want to litigate will not be a sufficient ground. The taxpayer needs to have some extraordinary reasons for the High Court to entertain its writ petition. Then again, this is a very important point. So the appeal withdrawal application has to be made before 31st March. So even though SPL 01 can be filed, SPL 02 can be filed by 30th June, but appeal withdrawal application has to be made before 31st March 2025. अगर आपने वो application 31st March के बाद फाइल किया, then you are not eligible for the amnesty scheme. Then self-assessed tax we have covered, e-cash we have covered, reassessed order we have covered, specific issues we have covered that if for some issues you want to litigate, some issues you want amnesty, that is not allowed. Refund of excess pre-deposit, this is a very good point. So let's say the taxpayer wants to go for an amnesty scheme. He paid the complete 100% tax. He went for the amnesty scheme. The application was rejected. Now his original appeal has been restored. But he has paid the complete tax. उसने 100% tax की payment की हुई है. For going into appeal, he only needs to pay 10% of tax as pre-deposit for first appeal, then 10% on second appeal. So whether he can apply for refund for the excess pre-deposit, because second appeal appellate tribunal will take time. Right now, appellate tribunal is not constituted, so we don't know whether that appellate tribunal order may come after 5 years, may come after 10 years. So taxpayer does not want to get his money stuck, the complete 100% amount. So whether he can file and refund application for the differential 90% tax, 100% minus 10% pre-deposit, 90% tax payment का वो refund application file कर सकता है. In my view, yes, there is no restriction in GST law that refund should be allowed. And last important clarification. So it is only for orders under section 73, 74. So any order issued under any other section. So section 129, e-way bill cases, 130 confiscation cases, all those cases are not covered under amnesty scheme. So that is all from my side. I think we can take up the queries of the participants. I think some participants have.
I think that's all from your side, from your Moister side. So if anyone or participant has any query regarding this amnesty, please you can uh, drop in a chat box or you can unmute yourself so he can take your question.
So I think some participants have already raised some queries in the chat box, so we can answer that. And if someone wants to talk to discuss the query, I think we can allow them to unmute also. Sahil, is it possible for us to unmute the participants?
Yeah, first let me hold on, please.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I wanted to ask one question. Yani, one taxpayer has not filed the appeal for the last 7 months. Now he wants to pay the tax under amnesty, but some officers have told him that your application could be rejected because you have not filed the appeal. So they will treat it as undisputed dues. So he's hesitating to make the payment also. What are your views on that?
So that is actually a very, very good question. I was thinking of discussing that also, but it skipped my mind. So let's say in your case only the order was issued 7 months ago. Now the time limit to file appeal has passed. So if you see the language of section 128A, it says where the order has been issued under section 73 and no order has been issued under section 107, or where the order has been issued in 107 but no order has been issued by the tribunal in 113. Section 113. So those two cases are covered. So the section is very clear कि जहाँ पे order issue हो चुका है and higher authority का order pass नहीं हुआ. So in your case, the section does not talk about whether the appeal has been filed, whether the appeal has been filed within time, or whether the time limit has passed. So in my view, that case is covered under the amnesty scheme. The client should get the benefit.
Okay, sir. Thanks a lot.
There is Sonu Dubeji who wants to unmute himself. Sonu sir, you can unmute yourself.
तो गुड आफ्टरनून सर.
Good afternoon, Sonu ji.
सर एक केस था 1819 का. वी हैव गॉन फॉर द अपील. दिस इज रिगार्डिंग दैट केस ऑफ मिसमैच ऑफ आईटीसी विद 2A. तो डिपार्टमेंट से डिस्कशन के बाद उन्होंने कुछ ऑर्डर इशू किया और हम लोग उसके ऑर्डर के अगेंस्ट में हम लोग ने अपील फाइल की है. तो और वहां से फोन आया था कि आप लोग इसमें एमएनएसटी स्कीम में जा सकते हैं करके. बट सर आईटीसी का जो था 2A का जो प्रोविजन था इट वाज केम 2020 से इफेक्टिव हुआ. उसके पहले का जो था उसके लिए कुछ सर्टिफिकेट था जो हमको लेना था क्लाइंट से. वो मैंने इस स्क्रूटनी के बाद लिया है. विल दैट बी एप्लीकेबल सर?
So, the purpose of any amnesty scheme is to finish the litigation. So if you have an order and you want to go for the amnesty scheme, you can go for the amnesty scheme. आपका केस कितना वीक है कितना स्ट्रॉन्ग है डिपार्टमेंट को उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता. दैट इज द होल पर्पस ऑफ amnesty scheme, that we will not litigate. We also don't want you to litigate. तो आप टैक्स पेमेंट कर दो, इंटरेस्ट पेनल्टी we will waive, and you go for the amnesty scheme. If you want to discuss on the merits, so if you have got the state certificates from the supplier, then you have a very good case on merits also. So if you want to go for the merits and do not go for the amnesty scheme, I think you have a very good case. If you have proper certificates from the supplier for 2A3B mismatch.
सर्टिफिकेट लिया सर.
So then you have a good case. आप merits पे भी you can go and argue.
थैंक यू सर.
If anyone have any other question, please you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
I think some participants have also sent the messages in the chat box.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Gautam ji.
सर एक्चुअली एक केस था उसमें एक्चुअली पार्टी से गलत जीएसटी रेट पे टैक्स पे हो गया था. तो कारण सेल्फ असेसमेंट बेसिस पे टैक्स पे कर दिया था 17, 18 टू 19, 20 तक का. तो जो उस पे इंटरेस्ट लगेगा क्या वो स्कीम के अंडर लेवाई हो सकता है?
गलत रेट पे मतलब
कोई ऑर्डर या नोटिस नहीं आया होगा.
जैसे देखिए अगर कोई नोटिस या ऑर्डर नहीं है देन दिस स्कीम इज नॉट एप्लीकेबल. दिस इज अ वेरी क्लियर प्रोविजन कि दिस इज ओनली एप्लीकेबल इफ देयर इज सम नोटिस और ऑर्डर.
ओके, तुम्हें अगर नोटिस या ऑर्डर नहीं तो वो स्कीम के अंडर एप्लीकेबल नहीं होंगे.
Correct. So we have had some cases like this. So what we have practically done is we have gone to the department and asked them to issue a show cause notice. That this is my issue. You issue me a show cause notice before 31st March, so I can make the payment before 31st March and get the benefit of the scheme. But
like sir, we have already
अगर वो सेल्फ असेस्ड है मतलब अगर रेट का डिस्प्यूट है कि 18 की जगह 12 पे किया है ऐसा कुछ इशू है देन यू आर एलिजिबल फॉर स्कीम. बट अगर आपका डिलेड रिपोर्टिंग डिलेड फाइलिंग इस टाइप का इशू है देन यू आर नॉट एलिजिबल. रेट का डिस्प्यूट है कि 18 की जगह आपने 12% पे कर दिया, नाउ यू वांट टू पे द बैलेंस 6%, सो दैट विल बी कवर्ड.
बिकॉज यही इशू था सर कि 18 की जगह 12 कर दिया था हमने. 6% जस्ट बैक ईयर में ही पे करवा दिया.
So that will
सेल्फ असेसमेंट बेसिस पे टैक्स पे करवा दिया उसका. That will be covered.
That is not self-assessed.
उसके लिए हमें अब तो इस स्कीम में उसके लिए अप्लाई कर देना चाहिए. और
but you first need to go to the department and ask them to issue a show cause notice.
Okay.
आपके पास मार्च से पहले आपके पास show cause notice होना चाहिए to go for the scheme.
Okay sir. Thank you sir.
So Moisa, I think all questions has been done. So
And
before we'll, yes,
some questions I have also received in the chat box.
there's some question. Okay.
Uh, yes, I think some people have directly sent the messages to me. So I'll just read out those questions also.
Or before we taking the this question, can we share the this demo? It will take hardly 5 minutes. Or
Yes,
we'll take the question first.
please, please.
So before taking this forward, let me tell you about something about Taxonation. Taxonation is a GST and income tax e-library from which you can access from your phone, from your laptop. It's a joint venture of our publication. There is some service which will I tell you a little bit later. We'll share daily news, articles, landmark judgments on WhatsApp as well as on mail on GST and income tax. We'll provide login credential. After login, it seems something like this. You will get income tax GST both. It's an e-library. If you have any query regarding GST or income tax, there is option ask query. You can ask n number of your queries. Our expert will the query within 24 hours. So there is two module, income tax and GST. You can take any or both. So GST cover act, rule, notification, case laws, tax rate, article, form, council meeting, RCM, draft reply, notification tree, case law, compendium, replies, FAQ search, news, videos, blog, deadline. Whatever you are finding on Google, on ChatGPT, or any other platform, you will get each and everything over here that's too authenticated. Let me start with the case laws. We are the one in India who's providing highest case laws till now, 15,317 case laws till now. You cannot find this much of the case laws anywhere. Every case law contains their section, subject, brief over here only. If you click this judgment, you can read in any other language apart from English. Or if you don't want to read, there is option listen. You can listen this judgment as well. Print, mail, bookmark, whatever you want to do, you can do. This judgment in whosoever written over here in the favor of assessee, and the more summary is given over here only, which you can read. And the whole judgment written underneath. You are reading this, there is a section 74, which you don't know. If you click this section, it's appear over here only. This how to search judgment. That's the main issue. From here, there is so many filters from where you can search the judgment. So you can search through court, section, subject, text, year, in party, in whose favor, in name of party, any. Let's say I want to search through High Court, that 2 of Delhi High Court of section 129, that 2 in the favor of assessee, right? And submit. It takes hardly 3 seconds to hear the result. 3 judgments on this. Every judgments contain their brief. You can read this very easily. So it will save your time a lot. If you want to search further in 3 judgment, you can search from here. So notification and circulars we update the same base, whether it's come midnight or midday. Green color denotes there is no amendment till now. Yellow means there is amendment. Red means ticket withdrawal. You can search through subject, type, word, year, government number, any. Let's say I want to search to 12/2017 notification number. If you click on this, any amendment written over here that with the number which is written in this tab only. Insert your notification number this with effect from this notification also clickable. So if you print this notification, you will get updated notification with the substitute of each and every notification. And all that's given over here, why you need to buy a book. Each and every section written over here. You can search to section or word any. Let's say I want to search on section 16. Submit. Click on this. If you click on cases, all the cases appear on section 16 will appear over here. Every section and rule written over here, which is clickable, and all the amendment written underneath with a notification number. Same for the rules, tax rate, HSN code. There is goods, services. Goods also bifurcated in 3, schedule, chapter exempted. In chapter wise, you will get 4, 6, 8-digit HSN code. Let's say chapter 2. So this get nil. From this date, by this notification, and before this date, what you have to read written over here only. You can search through HSN or a name. Let's say I write Haldi in Hindi. Submit. Here you go, single click, automatic on Haldi, fried red powder, 8-digit HSN code at the rate. So there is article, form, council meeting, table on RCM, everything is made. Draft reply. We have made some templates of draft reply, which you can read or you can download or you can do print, whatsoever you want to do. Provision of law, provision of judgment, everything is written over here only. So it will save a lot of time of you to make the appeal. News, videos, blog, we share on your WhatsApp on a daily basis. Their option case law compendium. What is that? We converted landmark judgments into question. Well, then we say whether yes or no, in which judgment said, and what the author's comment is written over here only. And the last step, research step, what is that? It's our Google. I write Haldi over here. Whatsoever on the Haldi will appear over here only. So there is case law, HSN code, consular wedding notion, four cheese on haldi. Whatever you want to take, you can click on this tag. Same for the income tax. If anyone want demo on this or to purchase this, please, I am sharing my number as well as website on the chat box. Please, you can contact us or mail us. Over to Mohit, sir.
Thank you, Sahil. So, think for first query is by Ashok ji, that can we apply for amnesty scheme if the order is for interest for late filing of GST returns? So I think this we have already covered that as per Circular 238, it is not possible. But in my view, if order or show cause has been issued in 73, then you can go for the amnesty scheme, but it will be very, very litigated. Then next question is by Manmeet ji. If payment of tax is made against order in payment towards demand tab on GST portal, then what attachment needs to be attached in SPL02 form? So there is no need to give any attachment in that case. But still, if you want, you can go to your e-liability ledger and download that e-liability ledger PDF, and that PDF of e-liability ledger can be uploaded. But that is not required. That is extra compliance. If you want to do it, you can do it. Then again, next question by Manmeet ji, that manual order of appeal issued and letter on it was uploaded on portal, and GST APL 04 now available on portal. Then we need to mention order reference number of GST APL 04 in SPL 02. Yes, sir. So if you are going against an order, then you need to mention the order reference number. So order reference number of APL 04 has to be mentioned. Uh, I think we have covered all the queries which participants had regarding the amnesty scheme. So if anyone has any other query, they can ask, or if not, then maybe we can conclude the session.
I think, sir, that's all we can have for the today. So let's wrap up. Thank you so much for everyone who attend this webinar. Thank you so much. You make time on Sunday. We'll try to share this PDF, which is made by Voicer. If anyone have any query regarding anything, we'll do again webinar probably next weekend or next week. We'll try to do as webinar as much as possible. So thank you for today. Someone still messaging. Okay, thank you, sir. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mohit sir. Thank you so much for everyone. Hope we will see you again very soon. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yes, thanks should go to the participants who have taken time out on Sunday and came for the webinar.
So enjoy Sunday. Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your Sunday.